versus Liverpool. I'm going to explain why I think the game was a stalemate and why the quality just wasn't there. Of course, one of the biggest reasons was the early start time, 12:30, just after internationals. I know Jurgen Klopp's been complaining a lot because of how many games Liverpool have had to play directly at the 12:30 slot after internationals, but there's actually a lot more to this. Football fans would be like, oh, you've got to play 3 times a week, blah, blah, blah. They used to do that in the 70s. Well, you know what? Athletes are running twice as more these days in a football match than they used to back in the 70s. There's a lot of stress that's been put on footballers because they have to be at the top of the game. We're talking about the elite level here at the top of the football pyramid. And when you're talking about these players, you have to remember that they're the best players in the world out of 3 or 4 billion people who would love to be footballers. So it has a big impact because if you're coming back from South America and you're waking up on a Saturday morning for a game, for you having your breakfast pre-game, it's sort of like a 2 a.m. breakfast rather than the 7:30 a.m. breakfast that you would have normally for a 12:30 kickoff. So that was just a quick note on that. Then we're going to move on now to the game, finally the game. And one of the biggest things in this game, the person who really made this game was Allison. In my personal opinion, Allison is the best goalkeeper in the world. However, in this game, he was not at his best. I think that was clear for everyone to see. There was a few shaky moments, the Foden chance where he kicked the ball straight to him. Liverpool were trying to build out from the back because the City press was really good. All of the defenders were constantly being pressed. It was just Allison who was really their outlet. There seemed to be a lack of movement in midfield. Trent was there in midfield, but his body positioning isn't that good for a midfielder. And there has been a few moments this season where the ball has been played to him. He's lost it and Liverpool have conceded goals. Allison playing out from the back created a lot of issues for Liverpool, and I don't want to disparage Allison. Like I said, I think he's the best goalkeeper in the world. Maybe he's not as good with the ball at his feet as Edison is, but he's still one of the best in the world with the ball at feet. The Haaland goal, I think for a keeper of his caliber, he would have thought he should have saved it. And I say this as someone who's watched him a lot. Those are the kind of shots he saves. That wasn't in the corner. He did get a hand to it. However, it was Haaland and it was a big one-on-one opportunities. You have to favor the striker in this situation. The reason I say he made the game also was because he made a big save right before Liverpool went up the other end and scored. This is the quality of Allison, and this is what he provides for this Liverpool team. Finally, there's going to be a lot of talk about foul by Akanji on Allison. Here's a foul. Put a ball in your hands, lift the ball above your head. If someone tugs on your arm, you're going to drop the ball. It's that simple. Players can't be interfering with a goalkeeper when they cannot reach the ball. Akanji, the ball was way above his head. He was never going to reach it. So it's a foul. It's simple. I don't even know why people are complaining about this. Another thing that had a big impact on this game was how Liverpool set up. They were very compact. Jurgen Klopp has talked about this when he's been questioned about Alexis McAllister playing in that number 6 role. And what he said is that the team has to help him. And he believes McAllister is playing very well in that role. I agree. Even though I've made a video saying why Liverpool should sign Andre, I agree that McAllister has been playing very well in this role. But in this game in particular, Liverpool were very compact, and you could see how they were inviting City on. Everyone would drop back. They were very happy, for example, for the ball to go to Doku. They weren't trying to cut out that outlet. And even in that position, the reason why Trent won man of the match and people say defended well was because Liverpool were happy to accept Doku going on the outside, where he would have to cross the ball and one of the centre-backs would cut it out, or he would cut back in on the inside and he would run into one of the midfielders. In the past, Liverpool have been brave enough to be one of the only teams in the world that go head-to-head with Man City. That's why the games have been exciting in the past, because Liverpool come out to play against Man City and not many teams do. They like to press high, except for last season, of course, where at Anfield, Liverpool sat back and they won the game because of that. This is something that they've had to change because they've got a brand new midfield. Those guys are still learning how to play. Darwin Núñez doesn't play in the same way as Firmino, for example. Sadio Mane is gone. All of these changes meant that Liverpool had to play in a different way. On the other side of the coin, Man City starting lineup kind of helped with that as well. I think Akanji coming in for John Stones was something that took away a little bit of the ball playing ability that they have in that midfield. John Stones is really accomplished on the ball. A lot of people may not like him, but in this game, he would have had a big impact on the team because Bernardo Silva was dropping a little bit more than he had to, and that had a knock-on effect on Phil Foden, which we'll talk about later. If you're a football manager, one thing you always talk about with your team is transitions. What happens in transitions? This game, both teams scored from transitions. So Liverpool's goal came from a Man City attack where Man City might feel they should have scored. Man City's goal came from Liverpool losing the ball through an Allison kick, which actually could have led to Liverpool scoring if he'd, got the pass off. And this is kind of what played into Liverpool's hands, but their execution was a bit off. In the big games, Liverpool love the controlled chaos, whereupon players are dragged out of position, everything is high octane and played at speed, and they thrive on this because it's their game plan. They like to profit from opposition mistakes. So for the City goal, the mistake was no one being on Mohamed Salah because he was running and he was off and he was free. And Man City have committed that mistake last season and numerous times against Liverpool, actually. It's just the execution from Allison to Salah or from whoever else hasn't been on point. Another thing is, when it comes to that chaos, in the first half, Liverpool had 3 or 4 opportunities that were wasted by Curtis Jones just after they'd created that chaos, won the ball back, and Man City had more players in front of the ball than behind it. And those opportunities, I think Liverpool would look at those as chances that they could have created to possibly have won the game. For City as well, their best moments, their best chances came from transitions where Liverpool were pushed up the pitch, particularly in the second half as they were chasing the game. They were not at their best really in front of goal. Allison made a couple of saves, but there was a good chance for Alvarez, for example, and a lot of the times there was pot shots from distance that didn't really make a difference, let's say. And also those transitions were created by Man City sucking Liverpool in and Liverpool pressing with 6 sometimes. The ball playing ability of Edison and the Man City defenders just helped them play their way out and create these transitions where Liverpool was straight away seeing 30 to 40 yards between their attackers and their defenders. Finally, 4 players who I believe are underrated, who contributed a lot to why this game ended up how it did. First one, Nathan Ake. He's playing at left back here. He's a centre back by trade, and Man City spent a lot of money on him from Bournemouth, but since he's come in, he's been superb for them. In yesterday's game, he kept Mohamed Salah quiet. Although Mohamed Salah did get an assist, he kept him quiet. There wasn't many opportunities that Mohamed Salah had one-on-one with Ake, and when he did, Ake just took care of him. Of course, Ake also created the Man City goal. He, I'm going to say, slalomed his way through 2 pitiful challenges from Liverpool players. But this is something I've noticed that happens a lot, where a defender, if he's very adept at carrying the ball, the opposition tend to put in half-hearted challenges because they think he's just a defender and he won't be able to carry it much further. And you'll see this with the next person I'm going to talk about, which is Joel Matip, who was outstanding for Liverpool yesterday. He really helped out Trent against Doku's pace and trickery. There was a couple of times where Doku was up against Matip and Matip got in trouble, but generally Matip was always in the right place at the right time, especially for when Doku got to the byline and was putting in a cross. Matip was always there just to be in the right place and to get the ball out of trouble. Going back to what I said about Nathan Ake, Matip also did a slaloming run where he went past 3 or 4 Man City players. Again, they were all awful attempts at winning the ball back, and he passed the ball out wide to Salah, who swung in the cross for Darwin Núñez's chance, which led to an Edison save. Matip is actually one of the most underrated defenders, I think, in the Premier League. He's reached multiple Champions League finals. He's been in a team that's got 90 points 3 times. Yet he's never talked about as one of the best defenders in the Premier League era. I believe he is. Kostas Tsimikas, not talked about much. Feel like Liverpool fans have been underrating him because, we need Robertson back. This guy's just a backup. He was really effective yesterday. Phil Foden, his big moments came from when Allison gave him the ball or from a mistake from someone else. Otherwise, Kostas Tsimikas had him on lock. Phil Foden did nothing in the game. Neither did Kyle Walker going forward in an attacking sense. So, Kostas Tsimikas, well done. Great performance at left back. And I think a lot of people didn't expect that from him. Finally, player who probably was the man of the match was Bernardo Silva. Again, I'm going to say I think he's underrated because when people talk about best midfielders in the league, somehow his name gets missed out. When you say Bernardo Silva, people are like, oh yeah, him. He's one of the best midfielders in the league. He was everywhere for Man City yesterday. When they had problems playing the ball out, he would make sure he would join the defenders to create that extra man and be like a little pivot for them to pivot their way out. At the same time, he was in the right place at the right time when Liverpool transitioned and counter-attacked. There was a couple of moments where he won the ball back, did a few pirouettes, kept hold of the ball, played the ball out, and Man City were on the attack again. So he was brilliant yesterday. I think he was the best player in the game. Going on to like the conclusion from this, it's a great away point for Liverpool. Man City, they'll feel that they've dropped 2 points because of them having the lead and how they thought the game was progressing. From a title perspective, Liverpool, of course, are going to be happier. But one of the things I've noticed is the fixture schedule is kind of skewed at the moment this season. Liverpool have played most of the top 10 and they've played most of them away. They've only lost once, which was the notorious game at Tottenham. But then keeping up with Man City, and I think Pep Guardiola must be feeling something there about this Liverpool team. He's used to being in a battle with Liverpool sides, and he's probably feeling a little bit concerned about how quickly they've come back from last season. Jurgen Klopp, on the other hand, must be thinking, hey, my team can still get better. I've got loads of new guys in this team. This midfield isn't settled. Darwin is still trying to grow into the role, and Mohamed Salah is still adjusting to a new role. All in all, it looks like we're in for a good title race this season. I hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, I'm trying to improve the content that I do and my editing and stuff. I do it all myself. So if you did like it, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.